So, herzlich willkommen allerseits. A very, very warm welcome to so many of you who have joined. It is absolutely enthralling to see the enthusiasm, and even in the virtual space, we can feel your happiness, your eagerness, your satisfaction. So thank you one and all for being there. This is indeed a very, very special moment for me as someone who represents the German section, Department of Foreign Languages, Savitribai Phule, Pune University, because this is not just an initiative of our section. We are here together in many capacities, in many roles, and that is the best part of it. You see, right now we are literally enshrined by many clouds in India as well as in Germany. But wherever there are clouds, there is also a silver lining. And the silver lining will be coming on the screen very soon. So this is our silver lining. We are living in dark times, not only because it is raining in Maharashtra or Baden-Württemberg or North Rhine-Westphalen or Rhineland-Pfalz. No? We are going through dark times, but thanks to each one of you, we are not letting the dark times overpower us. We are continuing, number one. So my deepest gratitude to all my younger colleagues who are present here on the screen to continue, and not only to continue in the regular capacity, but to come up with newer initiatives. Thus was this initiative born, that we should do something so that the dialogue with people who are not immediately reachable, approachable, that dialogue should start. So that idea was from Mohini Kare and Parag Velankar. And as their ex-teachers and Y friends / colleagues, Amruta Kulkarni and myself, we were more than happy to welcome it. This is how the idea was born of Zukunftsmusik, Berufschancen mit Deutsch. Denn wir lernen alle Deutsch, aber niemand will nur lernen. Irgendwann soll das Lernen in einen Beruf wandeln. No? So that change has to happen. That the language that you learned with so much passion also becomes your profession. And when I was learning German, the number of professions was not even a handful. But you are very lucky, you young people. And we have so many possibilities, so many options, and so many young people who did their German in India and now are successful professionals either in India itself or elsewhere. So we were very happy and lucky to win one such successful professional who is working currently in Germany. We are very soon going to meet her, Swarali Paranjape. So this is all a family business, you know, and I am more than happy to be the oldest in this enterprise in age. Yeah. So I would now request Dr. Amruta Kulkarni, head of the German Department, Fergusson College, because these are the partners for this Alumni Network series. This is only the beginning. You have great things coming your way. So may I request you, Amruta, to say a few words to begin the session, so to say. Over to Amruta.
Sure. Thanks, Acharya ma'am. Good evening, all of you. Swarali, you are today's guest speaker. Good evening to you. On behalf of German Department Fergusson College and on behalf of our entire team of this project Alumni Network, I welcome each one of you to this very first series of this webinar series, Zukunftsmusik, Berufschancen mit Deutsch. Es ist uns eine riesig große Freude, so ein großes Publikum für diese Veranstaltung gewonnen zu haben. Das zeigt, dass es für solche Veranstaltungen, für solche Webinare ein großes Interesse besteht. Bei der Studiumsphase hat jeder Studierende diese Fragen, ne? Wohin führt mich mein Studium? Weiter, komme ich gut voran? Wie sehen meine Berufschancen aus? Und genau das ist unser Anliegen dabei, hier den Studierenden dieser diversen Berufswege, Berufschancen zu beleuchten. So with this motto, we are here today with the very first session. I'm glad so many of you have joined. I welcome all of you again. I would like to make a special mention of Mohini and Parag, as Acharya ma'am also mentioned. They have played a very, very important role in concretizing the entire idea of this project, and they are the ones who are going to conduct Swarali Paranjape interview today. So without taking much time, I hand over to Mohini and Parag. I'm sure today's session will be very much insightful and extremely beneficial to all of you. So enjoy the session. And yes, over to you, Mohini and Parag.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Let's have Swarali on the screen first so that we can start.
I am already.
We cannot see you. Can you see you?
Yes, we see her.
Yes. I can also see her and hear her. But it's always a good idea if we can spotlight
her.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi.
I cannot see you, Swarali. No. Yes. Sehr schön. When you see a blank screen, it's difficult to, just to have a conversation. So I'm happy that I can see you now. Sehr schön. So let's start, Swarali. We don't want to go into a proper introduction saying what you did and how you did, etc., etc. We just want to have an informal conversation with you. Just for our audience who is taking part today, Swarali is working as a product data manager at Mercedes-Benz here in Germany, in Böblingen. And she will try to present us her journey about how she started learning German till her role she's playing here in Mercedes-Benz now. So Swarali, just a basic question, like everyone has in mind, even I had in mind. So when and how did you start learning German? What was the motivation behind it? When did you think, okay, now I want to learn this language?
So first of all, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot to German Department, SPPU, Fergusson College, Acharya ma'am, Amruta ma'am. It's immense pleasure to be here because you have been my teachers throughout my bachelor's and master's. So it's an amazing honor just to be here. And of course, to the entire team of Zukunftsmusik, Mohini, Parag, Anisha, Isha, thanks a lot. So my journey, I started learning German in 11th standard. So in my school, we didn't have any foreign languages. I went to a complete 100% Marathi medium school, Aksharnandan. I finished my 10th there. So I had just normal languages that any school otherwise has. Marathi, English, and Sanskrit I had. And then when I decided to go to Fergusson College and do my bachelor's in arts, I thought, why not pick up a foreign language? And back then, there were only two possibilities, German and French. And back then, to my naive mind, I thought, oh my God, French, they write something else and pronounce something completely different. Would I be able to learn that at all? Let me maybe just take a safer side. It was that naive, so to say, back then. And I went on and I took German. Simultaneously, I started learning Japanese at Ranade Institute. And that was a disaster, learning two foreign languages simultaneously, starting to learn new foreign languages simultaneously. So after 1 year, I stopped with Japanese. And of course, the only reason was back then because I had to finish my 12th standard somehow, so that I had to try to learn German and try to, so to say, at least able to score some marks. So being a very average student, I have never been a topper of any of my class. I have been a very average but very studious student, have attended all of my class always. And I realized Kekar ma'am was also my teacher, who is also there today it's amazing again to see her as well. So in 11th standard, I thought, okay, I need some more help. I wasn't being able to learn German the way I had to in order to score good marks. So I thought, okay, let me start with a Max Muller Bhavan. One of my friends from Japanese had some experience with that. So with that encouragement, I thought, okay, I was absolutely privileged enough to have to be able to afford those courses and classes. I have to say that. Thankfully, my mother managed to put me through all the classes. Also back then, even if I'm talking about like now almost 20 years ago, it was still a lot of money back then. So I started learning German at Max Muller Bhavan, and I started loving the language more and more because you spend more time at a stretch. Instead of having 1 hour at college, you spend 5-6 hours intensively. And it wasn't just then for, for the sake of academic grades, but then I actually started developing interest in learning a new language. And I always, so to say, a language-oriented person. My Marathi was quite good. I was very keen into reading new books in every language that I was learning. So my aim back then was that if I am able to read and understand what I am reading in German, that is fine. So that is how naively everything started, to be very frank. No plans of that I want to do something in my life with a foreign language or anything. I had no clue what I wanted to do. It was just
I think we all are staying in the same boat, the audience and even us. So
I mean, do you ever know what you want to do? You just take one step at a time and you hope that this works out. And if it doesn't, you just look for a new path. It is at the end as simple as that.
Yeah. And after that, you came to Germany. Then your experience is really diverse. I mean, right from teaching Hindi, offering indische Kochkurse. So how has your journey been so far? Till a product data manager in Mercedes. So it's different, right? It's not the normal way of, you're just teaching a language, you're translating some documents. You started as something else and you have landed up doing something, not something else, I would say, but you have progressed your job profile or something like that. So can you just explain or go deep dive into it a bit for us?
I will have to deep dive because it's a vast question. So I will again go back a few years and start with how I ended up doing my bachelor's and master's in German at all, because at some point of time in college, we are forced to choose one subject in which we need to major. So by that time, we need to know what we want to do. And very surprisingly, I kept on doing on German, of course, but initially I had chosen sociology as my major in my SYBA Fergusson. And within 1 week or 2 weeks in it, I thought I always liked sociology, but this is not that is making me happy. And German was something whenever I was engaging myself with that subject, it always made me happy. So I thought, why not just do that? So I changed it. I changed my subject in SYTY within a month, within the first 1 month. And I did my bachelor's in German. So by SYTY, I had finished till M3. Like back then, Max Muller Bhavan had Grundstufe 1, 2, 3, Mittelstufe 1, 2, 3. So I finished M3 while I was doing my second year, and my language was by then pretty good. As I said, I never excelled, so to say, in academic grades. Academic grades wise, I was a very average student, but I was quite good at the language. And what fascinated me was how learning a new language opens whole different world to you when it comes to culture, people, history, geography, politics. It was absolutely fascinating. Coming from Pune, born and brought up in Pune, have never stepped out of Pune, being brought up in a very secure little bubble. It was fascinating to see what the outside world even is and how that exists. So that urge to learn more prompted me to take up masters. After coming to masters, it was a whole different level of language altogether, not just language in the sense of wordshots, like how more diverse subjects you learn, the language skills, but also just the engagement with the culture. We also had a German teacher from DAR, so you could directly converse with a German person, because we have amazing teachers. Being in Pune, we are so blessed to have amazing teachers who have been in Germany and who have studied in Germany. But still, to be able to listen and to talk to a German native speaker is a whole different thing. Because even if you know the language, there are nuances of every language, that there is a, so to say, how you talk to each other, Umgangssprache, the way you call it, right? So even though you know the language, it doesn't matter how long you are living in this country, that is never going to be my mother tongue. So my vocabulary is always going to be within my parameters. It doesn't matter even if I live here in this country forever now, there are always going to be some words which I have never heard. There are going to always be new fields that I can explore. So that was one thing that we got to explore with that German teacher, definitely. There were hilarious incidences where he tried to talk to us in a very colloquial language, and I didn't understand a word he was saying, and completely misunderstood what he was saying. And it was pretty embarrassing, but that's how you learn, right? You just keep making mistakes, and that's how you learn. Then during my master's, after finishing first year, back then there used to be one German essay competition which used to be held by DAR. And you could just submit your essays, and selective students used to get a scholarship to attend a summer course in Germany. So I had applied. I still remember the subject was Unabhängigkeit, independence. And I had written something very emotionally about it, about what my idea of independence is. And then I submitted it, and I was lucky enough to get through. And that was my first ever solo journey ever. I think before that, only time I had traveled all by myself was to visit my grandparents from Pune to Nashik. That was it. Otherwise, I'd never traveled alone. So that was a big step. I was 21. And I went to Germany. I had chosen a summer course in Jena. It was a Germanistic course, and you had plenty of options in which cities you could go, which kind of course you want to, pick. And Jena is not particularly a choice, maybe a student will make when you're going there for the first time. It is a very small city in the previous East Germany, but somehow I didn't mind, because the course they were offering was something that I really wanted to do. So I went there, and I was all over in Germany for a bit more than 1 month, 6 weeks. So my course was for 3.5 weeks, and the scholarship was quite good. So of course you have to manage your own finances. I had, apart from that, I had already started teaching German. That is how every German student starts. And that is absolutely amazing to be able to teach somebody, because that is also how you, so to say, master your language, or try to master your language when you try to teach it to somebody else. Yeah. So I had taken, I was, giving tuitions for 8, 9, 10 standard students at my home. And I was doing that since my bachelor. So I had saved some money. I have kept some money on side, and it was my aim to, of course, my mom would have definitely helped me out, but that was, the independent thing that I wanted to do, that if I want to do that, then on my own or no, so that kind of thing I had always in my mind. So I extended my stay by a couple of weeks, and I traveled through Germany on my own. There's this Deutsche Bahn youth pass that you can take. that I had taken it for those days, and I would just, and of course I was a bit scared. Oh, I have never lived like on by myself ever till then. Even sleeping alone in an apartment used to freak me out. So forget about, like, traveling to a different country and then traveling by myself. But I don't know what, got into me. I just wanted to do that, and I planned everything. Thank God I had a couple of friends who from Pune I knew and who had moved to Germany to, pursue their studies. So I thought, okay, I can meet them up just as my starting point. So maybe I can learn some things, like basic things, how to use transport and how to do what. Even if you know the language, it is a whole different experience because that's the only language you're going to talk. Of course, people know and understand English, and you might be lucky enough to find somebody who can help you out, but it is not always the case. If you try even to speak in German, then definitely people will be more eager to help you out. And I traveled on my own. Since I was super scared, I thought I will just go in the morning, come back in the evening. So I used to wake up at 5 and take trains to, different cities across the Germany and come back by the night. And it was such an empowering experience to be able to do that. And in that summer school, there were students from 90 countries. I didn't know some of the countries I had never heard of. My knowledge of world and geography was so bad that I didn't even know that they existed. And it's an amazing experience just to be exposed to the world and see what, like where people come from and what their experiences are. And the day I was supposed to leave Germany, I was almost in tears. I didn't know what happened. I just felt so sad that I had to leave. And that day I thought, one day I want to come back to Germany. Because I don't know, I still till date, I cannot explain. The moment I stepped my foot in Germany, I just felt at home. And I have no clue why, because nothing happened. But it was just the feeling that I had that I immediately felt at home. I came back, I finished my master's. There's also, again, a thing that you need to decide at some point of time in life, that in which direction you have to go. So while I was applying for master's, I had already got admission to JNU. So I had a choice between JNU Delhi or Pune. And I had been learning Kathak since I was 5, and back then I was at Nritya Bharati Dance School and was one of the senior students of Rohini Bhate, and was privileged to travel to perform India-wide. And I chose Pune for that because I wanted to spend 2 more years with her. And it was an amazing choice because as soon as I finished my master's, she passed away sadly. So those were the last 2 years I could spend closely with her. So again, my choices in my life have been career oriented in that sense. What I mean by career oriented is that in classical sense that you define as career, that you earn money, that way career. I mean, I knew that I never wanted to do any career in dance. It was my passion. It is still my passion. I still perform. So I stayed back in Pune, and that was the best decision ever. And after finishing masters, of course, the teachers also keep talking to you, like what you feel like doing. They are there to guide you. And after I had come back from Germany, I had in my head that I really wanted to study more. Like me being me, I'm very surprised how I wanted to study more, because as I said, I wasn't really the top student in the class, but somehow I felt like when I visited that German university, the learning culture, the entire academic culture was so different that it was so fascinating that I thought that I maybe want to do a second master's in Germany. So I thought that, okay, let me come back, finish my master's, and then apply for another master's in Germany. And my one condition was that I want to do my master's only if I get a scholarship, because I only want to go on my own. I don't want to take any, financial help from my family. If at all, then I would wait till I get a scholarship. Until then, I can, gain some more experience. And I was fine with waiting. So that was the first year when the collaboration between Göttingen University and Pune University had started. And there was one course I really wanted to do back then was international relations. And that was, I think, Erasmus Mundus. But that was the very initial year, so it would have been time-wise, it wouldn't have worked. So I had to wait 1 year. And I thought, okay, if I have to wait 1 year, let me just gain some experience. So we had some campus, not like campus interviews, but yes, since Pune University has such a big name, many companies come to the department and introduce themselves and hold kind of interviews of people. So I think it was HP, and I remember one of my friends and we went to interview, and I got through, and the package was really good. They offered me a really good package. It was supposed to be in Chennai, if I'm not wrong. And I was like, even if the package is good, I don't think right now the life that I was having in Pune with dance and everything I just explained, I didn't really feel like leaving the city only to get a good package. So I was like, nah, let's see, let's wait. And I got my job at Volkswagen. By then, it wasn't my first ever experience. While doing my master's, I was working full time with Lokmat newspapers, and I was working as their, so to say, associate editor or something like that. So what I was doing was they had just launched a new supplement for youth, and I was in charge of that supplement. So I was writing myself. It was, of course, everything in Marathi. I was, so to say, organizing everything. It was a weekly supplement, so I had to plan. I had to interview people. So I had gained some of the experience. But then I thought, okay, now I want to do something with German. So I quit my job after that, after I finished my master's, and I got a job with Volkswagen Pune. That was the first year when Volkswagen came to Pune. It was 2008, and they had just came to Pune. Till then, they were in Mumbai and Delhi. So a very fascinating fact was that their management, initial management in Pune, was all German management, because they were just starting up in Pune. They were supposed to be there for a couple of months, and then the German management was supposed to go, and they were supposed to hand it over to the Indian management. So they had just had on board their first Indian manager, who was a vice president and MD, and he was the only Indian on board, who had very strong, many years of automotive experience, but no German experience. So it was a very rigorous interview process with assessment centers and interviews and tasks, and everything was getting video recorded and whatnot. And I went through all those levels, 3-4 rounds of interviews, and the job that I had applied originally for, I didn't get it. It was some German expert position as a translator or something like that. And I didn't get it. And I was like, okay, fine, maybe I am not good enough. And then they got back at me and said, yeah, we see you for some other role. We want you in a role of assistant to the management. I had no clue what that means. And I said, okay, let's just try. And then again, one interview round happened. I didn't get that. And I thought, now I'm like giving up, right? Like this Volkswagen chapter is, I think, over. They called me back and they said, we have a new vice president and MD who is the first Indian management. And we want you to be his assistant. And in my head, assistant meant secretary. What I thought assistant was secretary that I don't know, take notes, take printouts, make him presentations. I had no clue what that means. But apparently they were using the German version of assistant. What they meant there in India, that was that you actually are not his secretary, but I was supposed to also teach him German as his assistant, because he, as I said, he was the first ever Indian management position in Pune. And I was supposed to expose him to the German culture in a way to tell him how the communication works, so he will be able to travel to Germany whenever he will be going to Germany. He was a well-traveled man but still they wanted somebody who has a bit experience in German culture. So I found that fascinating. So in my head, what corporate world was completely different than what I was doing there. I was going to teach. I was in charge of his entire communication. And it was a mixture of what I was doing so far. I was teaching German, and with my job with Lokmat, I was in charge of the communication in that sense. So whatever I was doing so far, I could just bring it together. And it was a learning experience. I had this corporate, I think, I don't even remember if I knew that word back then, that this culture is called corporate culture. It was just some multinational company, right? I mean, we used to just call that there are amazing multinational companies in Pune, and there's this German belt in Pune, around 200 companies are around Pune. So definitely while learning, while doing masters, I definitely knew that I might end up getting a job in one of those German companies. But I had, but like, you know, as Mohini, I think you mentioned earlier, that corporate thing, I never had that in my mind that this is where I want to land. Only thing for me important throughout was, or still is, that whether what I'm doing is making me happy, am I having fun, and am I learning something new? Because I'm a person who can get bored very soon. If I'm just doing one thing in my life, I just get bored very easily. So I need new challenges, I need new things. And of course, since I was still very good touch with all my master teachers, they knew that I was really interested at some point of time going to Germany. So back then, our from SPPU, German department, our head of the department was Nitin Gupte, and he called me up one day saying that there is a PhD position opening in Heidelberg University, and I think that you should apply. And I was like, why would I even consider doing a PhD? I mean, what, why, how? And he said, let's just meet. I will tell you what the position is, and I think that you should do it, and let's just talk. And we met. It was before I had joined Volkswagen. I had signed the contract. And on the first day of my job, I get a message from him that, you know, you should be applying for this. My very first day to work. And we met, and he told me about this PhD position at Heidelberg University, which fascinated me. So the project was conducted by a cluster of excellence, University of Heidelberg. And the project had already started 6 months before that. And the project was about colonial and imperial satire. That means satirical literature, which was written in Asia during colonial and imperial era. So Asia, because this cluster of excellence that Heidelberg University had just received that position of cluster of excellence, their topic of the next 5 years was Asia and Europe in a global context. So that is why they were focusing on Asia. And I was like, how do I come into this entire spiel, so to say? And he said that the professor there is looking for somebody who can work on Marathi satire. And I'm like, okay. So he said, I think you will be able to do it. You will be able to do it. And I said, okay, I mean, my Marathi reading was really good, but it was about Marathi colonial satire, which is like late 19th, early 20th century. Maybe what I read, like the oldest literature that I had touched to was maybe Pula and Vapu, but the generations, or maybe Athare, but generations before that, no idea. And he said, that's fine, you will have time. There was a scholarship, so you can apply. So let's just apply. I said, okay, let's just apply. So my job used to be, I had to travel from my home to Sakarn, and the bus journey used to be 1.5 hours one way. So I used to read all these Marathi books to be able to write a synopsis, to be able to apply. And with help of Gupte sir, I have to say, I submitted this synopsis. Back then, we thought that the PhD was going to be in German. So that is why this connection of somebody who knows German can also do a research in Marathi came actually in his mind. and connections in that sense that Nitin Gupte had done his magister in Heidelberg, and one of his classmates in Heidelberg was in charge of this group. And back then, when they were here students, there was Professor Zontheimer here. He's one of the big names in Indology. He used to teach evening Marathi classes. And after he passed away, there has been no Marathi teachers in Heidelberg since. And my PhD supervisor really wanted to bring back Marathi to his university. So I applied and I forgot about the thing. And one day I get a call saying that Professor Hans Harder, that is my PhD supervisor, wants to talk to you. I said, okay. And I was 22. He called me, and first sentence he told me was that you are too young. You are just too young to be able to take all the stress. And I had no idea about what stress he was talking. I had no idea what doing a PhD means. I had no idea what research means. I was just fascinated with the idea that I can go to Germany on a scholarship if I get it, of course, and would be able to research on my own mother tongue. Like, how amazing is that? And how can anybody just let it go without even thinking about what am I going to do with a PhD in my life? Like, how is it going to help me ever? I didn't even think about that. So we just had a very nice talk. And I till date think, I also joke it with him saying that I think you were just impressed with my German because I had no idea about Indology whatsoever. Like, apart from being a Marathi, born and brought up in India, Indology is a whole new field that you really have to study. It is like telling a German that being a German, you have to be a Germanist. That is now not how it works, right? So you have to study. And I had no experience, but I don't know. He saw something in me, and he said, we had this call in September, and he said, pack your bags and you have to be here as soon as you can. And 1 month in my job in Volkswagen, I quit. I'm glad now thinking back that I didn't have enough time to think it through, because if I really had time to think it through, I might have not done it. But I was just so excited. And again, I'm privileged enough to have a family who didn't question anything, who always had faith in me that whatever I would do would somehow turn out to be okay. And I packed my bag and I went to Germany. And that's how I landed in Germany to do a PhD in Marathi satire. And then the journey starts. Of course, I had a scholarship for 3 years because it was a DFG, like Deutsche Forschungsgesellschaft, German, Deutsche Forschungsgesellschaft, German Research.
German Research Society.
German Research Society, yes.
Thank you, Acharya ma'am. So I had a scholarship from them for 3 years, which is quite good. You can absolutely live on it. And coming from a very typical middle class family, you know how to manage your, expenses. हिशोब लिहायचा रोज सकाळी उठून झोपेपर्यंत आज काय काय खर्च केला. These kind of, things that we have been taught. You just have to write everything you spend in a day, and that is how you somehow keep track. For the first time in life, though I was earning money before, I had never had to manage my finances. So that was a whole new experience, that you go out and you go to a supermarket, you see stuff, and just to calculate how much would I need, how much should I buy, how much can I eat, in what amount of time before it can go bad. I have never done that. I knew, of course, how to cook. Thankfully, I knew how to cook, or I knew how to survive. Let's put it like that. I knew how to survive. That much food I could cook. But expenses like, paying for rent, paying for mobile, paying for internet, basic transportation, clothes, like basic needs, I had no idea. You just learn, it is like learning on the job. That's how it is. Just learning by living.
Learning by doing, yeah.
And those 3 years went by like that, because as I said, I had no idea what PhD meant. I had to, that is another story though, how I actually ended up then getting into that PhD and how that journey was. But it wasn't a very easy journey, definitely, and having to change field completely. There were lots of surprises on my ways, for which I wasn't prepared, definitely. But it was amazing and learning journey. I wouldn't change a thing. But definitely, I didn't end up finishing my PhD as planned in 3 years. which after coming here, I got to know that even if the scholarship is of 3 years, that doesn't mean that you can finish your PhD in 3 years. It is just that the scholarship is of 3 years.
Yeah.
There was nobody around me who I knew in that field who has ever finished their PhDs in 3 years.
Yeah.
It depends upon field to field, definitely, in which field are you. And then thankfully I had savings. Whatever scholarship I was getting, I had saved money. So because again, going back to my first, I never wanted to take money from my family. So I always wanted to be on my own, and I would have tried everything, all my skills put together, whatever I needed to do that. So one profit is also if you are a good German speaker, when you go for your visa appointments to the Foreign Office, they treat you very differently than to any student who won't speak German.
Very
because it is not just racist or bad experience, not at all. Please don't see it that way. It is because those foreign officers can see that if you know the language, you will be able to get a job here. You will be able to sustain. And on that faith, they give you visas. Of course, you have to have other conditions also fulfilled, having certain amount in your bank and being still on a PhD student status with the university. That all has to stay. But apart from that, so after finishing my scholarship, long story short, I had to take a big U-turn, definitely. But Mohini, I thought it was important for that question, that how I actually started doing so many different stuff. It was, I think, just the need of time. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have time to do anything else in the first 3 years. I was attending classes and courses. I was somehow trying to be a PhD student. I was trying to write papers and present at the conferences, and also living life. Living life, I mean, just life was happening parallelly. You cannot forget that life that keeps happening is a huge aspect of your life as well. So that also takes a lot of time and time and energy of your entire schedule, definitely. And then I thought that what can I do? I need to earn money. So as every university student here, I started working as HIVI, that is Wissenschaftliche Hilfskraft. That means that if your PhD supervisors or other professors at the universities are having any projects, if they are leading any projects, they need some students' assistants who can support them in the project. May that be to organize conferences, may that be at times to go through some kind of literature, or whatever different activities that will have. So I was again privileged enough that my PhD supervisor had that faith that, okay, she should stay in Germany, because I think it didn't even ever occur to me that I should go back to India. Like, it wasn't even an option in my head. I don't know why, but since I had come here for PhD, it was obvious that I have to finish it. I mean, I didn't even think about it. Do I want to finish it? Is it even making me happy? Can I do it? It wasn't even a question. This entire it is like such a taboo where we come from, that if you start something, especially a degree, and if you can't finish it, oh my God, you are a failure, right? So I don't think that I wanted to be one of those. And by the time, though, 3 years in it, I absolutely knew that this is not one of my stärke. This is not one of my, this is not what I excel at. Let's put it that way. If I put my head into it, I will be able to do it, but it wasn't something that was making me happy. It was making me depressed and lonely, because I was going through books and reading books all by myself in my office, having no social contact or very less social contact. And it wasn't just me. I just wanted to be in a field where I am around people, where I can talk to people, and that is the nature of my job. So even if I was good at some other things, what this being a PhD student meant was that I excel at academic writing, I excel at giving talks on academic subjects, and I wasn't good at it. And I knew that 1 or 2 years in it, but I didn't want to give up. So I was Wissenschaftliche Hilfskraft. And then all the skills you just put together. I was a dancer, so I thought that I would start teaching dance. I didn't want to teach Kathak because I didn't have that much of time to invest in it. And Kathak is such art for me that only if I had that much of time, I would have done that. So I started giving fitness Indian dance classes at like Unisport. So it was like Bollywood songs throughout, and I would just choreograph on the spot and people would follow me. It was amazing fun. And how I come to Hindi, that's also another thing that after coming to Germany, one thing I realized, especially being into Indology, I was exotic being Indian who could speak German. But I wasn't exotic who could speak Indian languages. All my European colleagues could speak more Indian languages and more fluently than I was. So my only special thing was that I was one Indian girl who was fluent in Germany. And that I have to give it to all our teachers, that being at South Asia Institute in Heidelberg, I come across many students who are doing their masters. Here the faculty is different, so you cannot do your masters in language, but you can have language as your specialty. Still, in spite of that, they are not fluent in those languages which are offered here, like Hindi, Urdu, Bengali, Tamil. But the way we are fluent in German, if we finished our masters, it's amazing, the level of fluency we have. So that helped me, and I started teaching Hindi. For that, I had to learn Hindi myself first, because Pune Hindi is like, there is no match to it. Being in Pune in the year I was in Pune, I never had to use any other language apart from Marathi. So what helped was that after coming to Heidelberg, I had so many European and Indian colleagues who were fluent in Hindi and Urdu. So I used to speak with them all the time, every day. So they wanted to speak with me in Hindi because they thought that they can practice with me. And I just used to laugh loud that you want to practice your Hindi with me. That's a joke. So, but that's how I learned. I learned from my European colleagues to speak fluent Hindi. And then, of course, you have to go through books because teaching a language, teaching grammar is completely different. But I put my time in it. And then I went to Volkshochschule Heidelberg, and because there was Volkshochschule in Mannheim, which used to teach Hindi, but there was no Hindi in my own city, so I offered that. And that went on really well. And one fine day, I get a call from like Volkshochschule, and they asked me, "We heard that you are our new Hindi teacher, and you are from India. Can you cook?" I'm like, "Yes." And they said, "We want somebody to offer Indian cooking courses." And I said, "That sounds interesting." So that was another challenge. Cooking course means you don't get to cook. You teach people how to cook. You have to learn how to write recipes, how to tell people what to do, what not to do. And that was amazing experience. I did that. And then it was a few years down the line, and my foreign officer, like my foreign office coordinator, who was like in charge of my file, was telling me throughout these years, why don't you look for a proper job? You're so qualified, and being Germanistin from India, are qualified to have a job here. Why don't you look for a job instead of doing this small student's job? And I was like, no, I want to finish my PhD as a very good Indian girl. You know, I wanted to finish what I had started. He's like, forget it, just start applying. And somehow certain things happened in my life which actually pushed me to apply for things because of the financial things mostly. And I started applying. I got lots of rejections when I started applying. And there was one ad from like Daimler, Mercedes-Benz, that they were looking for Germanists. They were looking for a German language specialist. And I'm like, why would a German automobile automotive company would look for German specialists? It was like, whatever. I didn't understand anything which was written in that ad. I just understood Germanistin, and I, applied for the job. And I went through 3 interview rounds. In my first interview, I still wasn't sure whether my boss was sure that he wanted me to be there in the interview, because I thought in the first 5 minutes I was asking myself, I'm in Germany, I'm a foreigner, German is my fourth language. Why are they even interviewing a foreigner for a position of German expert, German language expert? They would get so many Germans here. And thankfully, again, I was very lucky to have a boss who could see beyond your academic skills on paper, and for him, the soft skills that come with that, communication, personality, how you are as a person, whether you would fit in his team or not, how are you going to be in this entire institution, that played a big role for him. And thankfully, I got the job. And since then, now it has been 5 years. I have been at that job learning new every day, very different field, very new field. But yeah, so I think it was a long answer, but I just somehow thought even if I leave one thing out, it would be sad because it has been very interesting journey, and not just interesting, but also very challenging journey so far.
Muni, should I take the next question?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was a fascinating journey. Thank you so much. So actually, I have a very basic question. You're working in Mercedes-Benz, and you're a trained Germanist. You have completed a PhD at IIT. So, what is it that you exactly do? Is the first question. And my second question is in relation to your whole journey. How do you see your bachelor's and master's in Pune reflected in your job? Or I can form it another way. Do you think that your bachelor's and master's actually helped you getting a job, also being good at your job?
So I will take the second question first, and I would say that having done my master's and bachelor's and master's was the only thing that I was even eligible to apply for the job in this case. So I would say this was the only thing that I had on which I was one of the applicants, which also they considered at all. So even though I was in Germany before that for around 7 years, it showed them that I had integrated really well in the society and the culture, and I was able to sustain on my own for 7 years. It was fascinating for Germans as well, even if their kids leave their homes at quite early age in order to study at the universities. For them, it was still fascinating having some kind of Indian picture, what they have through Bollywood movies or through magazines or through media, that a 22-year girl alone had moved from Pune to Germany. For Mercedes-Benz people, they are not necessarily all my colleagues had been to India or had any kind of connection to India whatsoever. So they had no idea what to expect. So for them, it was a huge thing, definitely. So that was definitely very basic and important thing for me to get that job, that I had my bachelor's and master's. If I didn't have, I wouldn't even have been qualified to get it, right? And what I do here is I will try to explain it as simple as possible, because it's also very hard for people around me here in Germany to understand what I do, because it's very, very Mercedes-Benz specific. So I work in the after-sales area in the Department of Repair and Maintenance Information. What does that mean? That once a Mercedes-Benz car is sold, the after-sales means whatever happens to the car after it's sold. That's after sales. And repair and maintenance means that whenever your car has any kind of defect, whenever it goes to a garage, whenever you need a spare part, for that, the documentation is needed. That means that if you take your car to a mechanic, that mechanic needs to know how to repair your car, right? If you are sending spare parts from Germany to Mercedes-Benz has 150 markets, that means Mercedes-Benz cars are sold and the spare parts are sold in 150 countries worldwide. So there's this entire chain of, so to say, logistics around the world. So my job is I'm in charge of the terminology. So what does that mean? Whenever you are writing a documentation, it is a technical documentation, right? So in whichever field you are, that specific field has a has a specific terminology. You should use a specific terminology. Otherwise, why should we go further? Even if within Maharashtra, we have so many dialects of Marathi. Person coming from Pune would not necessarily understand a person coming from Nagpur, even if they are speaking the same language. That same logic is there for every language in the world. So even in German, in every language, there are lots of synonyms. So which word is the technically correct word that you should use for your documentation? So that is where I come in. My work or my profile is a project lead. That means that at Mercedes-Benz at my level, we are only managers. That means that I don't have any personnel directly under me within Mercedes-Benz, but I have 5 suppliers. I have 5 external companies that work for my projects, and I supervise those projects. So I have around team of 15 to 20 people who don't belong to Mercedes-Benz. They belong to their own organizations, but I supervise all those projects. And those projects means that I have to make sure the quality of the documentation through the terminology that we use. I have to make sure the quality of the part names that get distributed worldwide. I'm in charge of the language strategies in the after sales market. That means you have to see that in those 150 markets, which languages are used, whether there are any rules and regulations in particular language. You have to deliver those part names. That's how the strategies are developed. And though I don't come from IT, you have to imagine that nobody sits down and writes on a paper, right? So it is everything digitalized. There are tools, there are databases, there are softwares which are developed by different companies for us. And these part names have to go from Germany to the entire world. So there's a big IT chain that is involved with various countries around the world, with various different counterparts around the world. So I'm in charge of, even though I'm not from IT, I'm in charge of these IT projects because the content that belongs to me in that sense has to get delivered through these IT networks. So here you see very interesting thing that even though I come from German background, it was mandatory and necessary that I know German. But here you have to be somebody who is managing people. So you have a role in HR, you have a budget that you get for a year. So you are doing controlling, like finance controlling. You are a conflict manager because when you are working with 15 to 20 people in Germany and you are dealing with many more cultures and countries in the world. So there is, intercultural communication. So all these factors come together. So my everyday work routine looks like standard day for me is from morning till my day end. I am throughout in meetings where I either brainstorm with my team and all my partners about some new ideas, about some new implementations, may that be technical or may that be based on one topic. I have some meetings where people report me. I have some meetings where I have to report to the management, and we have some international meetings where different countries are involved. And then I have some time where I have to analyze the results that are there. I have to read lots of stuff. This year, I was also able to supervise one master student for her thesis who was writing her thesis in linguistics. So this is a whole new world which I never knew that exists, and I have to say it is also very specific to Mercedes-Benz. Compared to Mercedes-Benz, other automobile companies are yet not that far or not that committed to the linguistics and language implementation. So that is also a very big field that is opening up in Germany, for sure. So that is how my everyday looks like. That's what I do.
Okay, thanks. So another question. You mentioned, these different Aufgaben, these different things that you have to do on your job. So what do you think are the skills, or even these intercultural nuances that are useful for your job and for the overall job life in Germany? First question. And the second question is, do you think that it would have been a great idea if you could have honed these skills or even these intercultural nuances in India itself, and then came to Germany and then apply them here instead of learning them here?
I think it's a very interesting question. I think that everybody of us who is learning a new language, in our case, it is German. So I would say that if you look at a new language as not just a language and a career option, but look at it as a tool to explore a new culture and explore new world, you are already one step into intercultural training. So not necessarily it is something that you can get trained with a course that you do, that okay, I go to one intercultural course and there is a teacher who teaches me how to see a culture, how to pursue a culture, and how to understand a culture. But that is a skill that you have to develop on your own. Even if anybody tells you how to do it, if you are not open enough, if you are not so to say receptive enough, then you won't be able to acquire it. And it doesn't have to be a foreign language. Absolutely not. Just be in India and see a person living next door. How we are as human beings in today's world always trained are to see people, to perceive people through our own lenses. I have a set of values, I have a set of morals, and I will see or I will judge a person through my own lenses. So you don't even have a chance to get open to new ideas. You don't have to do it on your own. You don't have to do what the other person is doing. But you don't need to be the one who judges how a person lives or thinks or eats or sleeps or whatever. So there is where the intercultural thing starts. Intercultural doesn't really mean that two cultures from different countries. It just means that culture, even we being from Pune, even if we could have been neighbors, we could have been different cultures. That is how just human beings are born and they function and they behave. Right? So I think you have to literally bring it down to that one thing that you all who are there today, I have to say that we all are privileged enough to be able to learn a foreign language. So first step is to acknowledge our privilege, see that what we are able to do, and take that privilege to a level where you see that this is giving me a chance to see how a small part of world functions. And if I come here, or whenever I meet, even if you are in India, even if you never get to come to Germany, still there is a whole new window that is getting opened through the entire literature, through all the films that we get to see, through all the books that we get to read, how people think, how people behave. I still remember I was in my class in Zurich, and Mahajan ma'am used to teach us Zurich back then. And take any epoch, even if it was romanticism, every single poem used to be so sad and so depressing, and you just die, or your beloved dies, or you just live your life in in this longingness. And I was like, oh my God, can I get something a bit happy to read? You can just live it like that, or you can think about why the literature is like that. So culture is not just, or literature is not that how people are today. It is about what actually brought them to there, right? So you have to consider entire history of Germany, what German society went through, what happened. So if you just see a person today and see, I see here Parag and Mohini and they are looking like this, that means they must be like this. This is what they have done in their lives. what you're doing, you are assuming that people like that because they come from Pune, and because now they are in Germany, they must have had amazing life and they must be living in so much of luxury. I can just assume that, or I can just be open and ask you, hey, how was your journey so far? And be open and just ask and have a nice conversation. So I think that is intercultural competence and nothing else. Just be open to new things. And again, as I said, open doesn't mean that you have to follow what the other person is doing. Open only means to have open ears, to listen to what people are doing, ask questions, but while asking questions, knowing where your line is, where to stop, where not to enter in anybody's personal space. And just at times, just observing people is also so much good and enough. So I would say that that definitely helped me having done bachelor's and master's in India, because this is what I definitely learned doing master's. This is what our teachers taught us, not maybe in these words, but through their teachings, how they were teaching us all the subjects was exactly that try to see why this has happened, what has happened, and why this particular culture is like that. So I don't think that where I have reached today, I would have done anything different. Or I would say that if I would have done anything different in India, or if I would have learned something different in India, my life would have been different. It would have definitely been different. Whether it would have been better or worse, I cannot say, because there are thousands of possibilities. If I take one step different, there opens a new dozen, possibilities. So I don't know. But I don't think that anything I felt ever in Germany that it would have been so nice, if anybody would have told me this. I just prefer it that way, that I learn it on my own. That is how I work. But again, just a disclaimer, big time disclaimer, whatever I'm talking and whatever I'm telling you are my own experiences. Everything comes from my own experience. So there is no path to where I am today. If person does 1, 2, 3, 4, everything that I have done in my life, a person will be there where I am today. It is not how it works. Everybody has to go on their own. They have to explore their own paths. Only thing I knew that I never decided upon something. I never had that, oh, in 10 years, I want to reach there, because I knew if I had that, I would just lose all the opportunities which are coming my way, which I might just not see because I have this one thing, in front of my eyes. So far it worked out. Let's see whether it works out or not later. But so far
That's
it is
really
so
nice. That's really nice, Swarali. And I think you explained everything in detail. म्हणजे तू खूप detail मध्ये जाऊन सगळं सांगितलंस. I hope the audience could, have good insights through that.
I hope that I didn't bore anybody, because it is so personal that I have never told so many personal stuff to anybody. So when it's about meeting topics and office topics, you have, okay, this is all you need to say. But I hope that it was.
I think we all are sailing in the same boat. So basically, we as students, it definitely helps all of us when we, get to hear such good insights. Let's come to the end part. Before that, I have 2 questions for you, and then we'll start taking the questions from the audience. The first question is, you explained about Germany, you explained about your job position, about your challenges, about the finances. So there may be something which you say, that I miss that here in Germany, let's say. It's just the fun part. So I'm just asking this question. Not necessarily, career or, but in your day-to-day life or something like that. That is my first question. And second question is, there are around 100 students listening to you now. So what is your message to them? And then
yeah, the first question is very, very interesting. It changes all the time. It is it changes every day. But now I have been in Germany for a bit over 12 years. And this is slowly the time where you can say, na ghar ka, na ghat ka.
Yeah.
It's like you are neither Indian nor German anymore, or how people perceive you. How you feel it is a whole different thing. How people perceive you is a whole different thing. What I miss, food. आईच्या हातचं जेवण. So that is definitely a big factor. Of course, you get everything here. I mean, there are stores where you can buy everything, every like Indian grocery, you name it and you have it, almost everything. But you have to cook it on your own, or you have maybe a couple of friends around you who are Indians, or who are not even Indians, who are like from other nationalities, who are fond about Indian food, and you just share that foodiness together and you explore food. But still, they Vaishali's dosa.
I know.
रवा डोसा. अशा गोष्टी लाईक नाहीच नाही इथे मिळू शकणार, त्याला काही हेच नाही, तोडच नाही. So food is a huge thing that I miss. Definitely friends. It is a very difficult thing. It is a very difficult thing to be away. Definitely when you are here, you try to build your own world. You have new friends. I have to say I'm very, very lucky that I have amazing set of friends. And I feel at home here. I have my own small family here, so to say, with all my friends together. But I still am very much connected with my friends from Pune, from my school, from my college. I feel very connected with them now, but it was a very interesting journey so far, because whenever I'm in Pune, I leave them at that point. In my head, I have left them at that point. And when I come back, I imagine or I expect to start those conversations from that point again. But for them, their lives have moved on in between for 1 or 2 years. So they are at a complete different place. So that connection is a very hard thing to keep hold on, like just to holding on. So that has been an extreme challenge that I missed. But yeah, I mean, that's how life is, right? I mean, that happens anywhere. But that is one thing I miss. But yeah, I think apart from that, culture-wise, I think I have I try to be, or I try to take the best from both the cultures. So that is how I kept that, whatever good things I have grown up with, I bring them along with me, so I don't miss them in that sense, if that makes any sense. I don't know. But yeah, khana yaar. Khana, vada pav. Vada pav, kachi dabeli, pani puri. Achi list वाढत जाईल.
List वाढत जाईल. That's true. That's true.
I know. जाऊ दे, आता जास्त नको बोलायला about food. Otherwise, I won't be able to continue, and I won't get it here. So let's just stop about talking about it. Sorry, what was your next question? That food.
My next question was: there are around 100 students listening to you. So what is your message for them?
Oh wow! I suddenly feel very much in the spotlight. Oh, I am the spotlight. I know. I just want to say that, this is an amazing series and many amazing people are going to come to talk to you. But, just look at it as you're talking to some of your just a bit senior friends who have maybe taken the similar path that you are taking right now. Just, listen what they have to say, but don't, put yourself under that pressure that, oh my God, she did that. That means I have to do that in order to be there where she is. There is no space where I am because this is my own journey. So just, try to just be yourself, just try to figure it out what you want to do. That I would really like to say, that don't choose your career path because there is going to be an amazing job if you do an MBA after, for example, after you learn German. If you want to do MBA, then talk to people who have done MBA. Ask them what their job looks like, and then think about it. Is that what I want to do? Is that what is going to make me happy? Do I have those skills to be that person? Or maybe I will take my own path and I will figure out on my own. Definitely having a good job is very important. Definitely being financially independent is a huge thing. That's the only aim I had in my life, that I wanted to be financially independent at a very young age. I didn't know how to do that. I just knew that I wanted that. So it's absolutely fine to have whatever aims you want to have in your lives, that I want to earn this amount of money. I want to earn that car. I want to have a home. Just be sure that all your aims are not only are not only material aims, but also something to do with your own life, with your own happiness, with your own family, with your own loved ones. And definitely don't settle for a job that doesn't make you happy, because listen to me, a person who has been working 5 years full time, you spend more time at work than you spend time with your family or your friends. And if you're not happy there, then life is too short just to earn money but not be happy. So just listen to what people have to say. You will definitely hear so many fascinating options in Germany, in India. There is nothing right or nothing wrong. You just have to choose your own path and just be sure that that you want to be happy. I think
And one,
that's what I would say.
And one very important thing, Swarali, maybe which you missed right now saying, was the networking part, which helped you getting into all the positions that you were in, like right from your MA, right from your PhD position. So the networking, your professors, talking to them.
Definitely. Definitely, you are absolutely right that you land into a society where you have to take an initiative. Nobody is going to come and ask you, hey, are you okay? Hey, are you fine? You have to, raise your hand and say, I am not fine. I need help. Please help me. And then there will be people around me. But what I would definitely want to say also about networking, don't think about networking in that way that if I become friends with this person, or if I connected with that person, I will reach there. And that is why I'm connecting. That shouldn't be a reason ever to meet a new person, or to become friends with anybody, or to be in connection, or be connected to anybody. Just see whether you like those people, if they are your vibe, whether you don't have to be best friends, you don't have to be life partners, but there has to be something that has to match. And just be humble, just know where you come from. Just remember that people will look at you as Indian, but remember in your mind you are 0.0002% of Indians who they will see. So you are not a representation of India. Keep that in mind all the time. You are very, 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 very privileged to have had this path, to have been able to learn a new language. Wherever you land, you are still a privileged person who have these possibilities in their lives compared to many Indians there are. So just be aware of that, just be humble of that, and just be a good human being. Just try your best to be the best version of you. And if you are like that, people will like you, and you will have so much good network, and you will just attract very nice people in your lives. And that will help for sure. Definitely. I mean, friends in India is one thing. You should definitely have that. You should definitely have that connect as a, a base, a stability. But coming in Germany, you are not coming to Germany to make friends with new Indian people. You're coming to Germany, if you are coming to Germany, to meet new cultures, to meet new people. Maybe some people would be Indian, maybe some people would be from different countries, maybe some people would be from Germany. But don't make it a point that I need other Indian people, otherwise I won't survive. Of course you would survive. If you just wanted to meet Indian people, you could just stay in India. So just see that what kind of different opportunities and possibilities a new country, being in a new country, can offer.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Swarali. I think we can. Parag, you're mute. On mute. We can take the first question now. We have a few. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so we have some questions in the chat. So there are two questions. First question is, let me rephrase the question. First is, can you do a career in Germany based solely on German language and no other additional educational qualification, for example, MBA, engineering, etc., or is German only sufficient as a supplementary skill? So that is the first question, if you can answer that.
Sure. It depends upon what you want to do and what you mean by career here and what you mean by supplementary. So it all depends upon that. Look at me. I don't have any other qualifications. My only qualification was having a master's in German. And whatever other qualifications I had were non-academic qualifications, were my skills that I acquired as a human being on my own without visiting any institutes or classes, without paying any money. I just had experience and gathered experience and learned from them. And you don't have to have a CV. If you, of course, you can have a CV if that is your aim, that you want to add qualifications to your CV. You can do that, but there is no need of doing that. There are possibilities in both areas. You can have a profession, or you can have academic main focus on engineering or MBA or whatever, and you can have German as complementary or supplementary, the word that has been used. Be sure what you mean by supplementary. If you want to use German in any way, there is no middle way in it. Either you can speak German, either you can converse and communicate in German, or you can't. There is no in between. There is always a learning curve. There is always a learning process. But if you want to have a job in Germany, there is nothing less than fluency that you can have here. You cannot survive in any, I am talking about German corporate world that I know of. So please do not quote me on any other fields. I have no experience in that field. If you are coming in academic field, if you are coming here to do your PhD, or if you're coming here to do your master's, be sure what your level of German is. There are enough English courses available here that will give you time to learn in English, but will also give you time in your social atmosphere to learn more German and to be fluent in German. But fluency is the only thing that will help you to sustain in this country, culturally and financially. And if you don't want to live in your own bubble, and if you want to really enjoy life, and if you really want to meet people, and if you really want to be an all-rounded social being, then I would definitely suggest to try to have fluency in German. But you have possibility, only career possibility, if you're talking about, in both ways.
Okay, and the next question is, do students, need to do a BA with specialization in German, or is that a compulsion, or they can achieve the same level of fluency from different institutions, for example, like Maximum Bhavan or the courses offered by Ranadi? Do you think a BA and MA specialization is absolutely necessary?
Again, depends upon what you want to do and what you want to learn. If you're talking about speaking German, like to learn how to speak, you don't have to do bachelor's and master's. Bachelor's and master's doesn't teach you how to speak German. You already have to know how to speak German and how to read German if you are planning on doing a bachelor's or master's. Bachelor's and master's in German, it also, the official name of it is Masters in German Studies, not Masters in German Language. So in Masters or even in Bachelor's, you learn about politics, history, geography of not just Germany, but German-speaking countries. It is not just Germany we are talking about all the time. It is German studies. It also included a few other countries who are officially German-speaking countries. So it depends upon what you want to do. If you really want to have a degree in German studies, then go for it. But if you just are looking for being fluent in German, you can learn it from whatever way you want to learn. You don't even have to visit an institute. If you think you have the capacity to learn on your own, learn on your own. I know many people who have, I don't know anybody who has learned German like that in India. I know many European people who have learned Indian languages like that. Apparently that's a possibility to learn on your own. But be sure what BA and MA means. MA, and it is a specialization like any other bachelor's and master's you do. having, to take an example, just having economics as your subject in your BA, and again having a degree in that subject, whole different things. So that's how it is. And if you're talking about what is necessary in order to visit or to apply for any masters in Germany, then you have to look for what courses you're looking for, what are the necessary degrees you need for that particular course, and what every university wants from you. Every university has different rules and regulations for every course that you are going to visit. So it completely depends upon that.
Okay, thanks. Mohini, do you have more questions?
Are there any questions posted in the chat?
Should I just go through a couple of and
Yeah, you can, sure.
Answer? I was just scrolling down, and if we have time, I don't know whether we have time, so
we can
decide
do
whenever.
two more questions, Swarali, and then
yeah. So there are lots of questions about scholarships and universities, and that I would definitely say that there is no one scholarship or there is no one university. There are multiple scholarships and there are multiple universities, and the best counseling you can get for that is DAD. You can just go to DAD office in Pune, and they are amazing faculties who can help you with that. I am nowhere a specialist on scholarships and universities. I just know about how I got into my university. So I would definitely suggest that. That doesn't also cost you anything. So you can just go and get your guidance. So just ask. There are lots of questions also where people are asking me whether I would suggest if anybody should do a PhD or master's or whatever in German in order to get a certain position like the position I have got. And I can only say no. You can choose whatever you want to do. And even if you choose the exact same path, even if you do bachelor's in Germany, German, master's in German, you also end up doing a PhD in like modern Indian languages and literatures. Even if you get my job, you would do it completely different than I would do it. So
yeah.
So there is no one recipe to do whatever you want to do. There is one interesting question for, of course, we all know that everything is being taught online for last 1.5 years. And how can people, how can students enhance their German language skills while doing everything online? The way you do it for any other language, listen to that language. That is the one thing you can do. If reading is very tiring, that was for me at least. I am very fond of audio things or even video things. There are so many things possible thanks to internet, thanks to YouTube. There are so many channels. Just if you are fond of one TV serial, one American TV serial, just look for a German version of that. Like I did that when I was in Germany for the first time. I was living in an apartment where there was TV and there was one channel and there was Friends going on, and I knew Friends by heart and it was in German. So I didn't understand German much, but I knew what they were talking about because I knew that by heart. So just listen to, watch some shows you like, watch movies. There are good programs from Deutsche Welle, if it still is there in Pune or in India. I think it should be. Yeah, and there is amazing library. Was amazing library when I was in Pune at Maximilian Bhavan, where you could still is, where you can rent out films and rent out German stuff. So I would just say that especially language, you would learn more language skills by doing that than sitting that 1 hour in your class. because even if our teachers are amazing, they have limited sources and sources, I mean by time. And being in India where you are not hearing German constantly, the only possibility to learn a language is just to keep hearing language more and more.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that, I guess.
Perfect. Yeah. I think we will come to the end of our conversation now. If there are no more questions, I don't see any. Perfect. So thank you so much, Swarali, for your time and such good insights. I hope the audience has enjoyed it and taken the insights with them for today. And as I said, really thanks for accepting our invitation. And yeah, so I think langsam kommen wir zum Ende. I would like to also thank Isha and Anisha. You can please switch on your cameras, as you have helped us to, organize everything, sending out emails to so many registrations and being in the conversation. And yeah, I would request everyone, Acharya ma'am, Amruta ma'am, to switch on the cameras. And yeah, Isha, Anisha also.
Thank you so much for for having me and for giving me this opportunity to talk. It was exciting just to have so much of audience. I've never talked to so many people in my life at once. So thanks a lot for thinking of me as your first guest. It was amazing 1 hour. I had really nice time. Thank you.
We also enjoyed it, Swarali. Thank you so much.
We are very happy to have made the right choice. Absolutely. As the inaugural guest speaker. We have seen a new Swarali, a completely new Swarali.
True,
Thank you. I take it as a compliment. Thank you.
Of course, I mean it as a compliment. We are absolutely happy and so proud. Very, very proud.
Thank you. That means a lot.
All the very best, Swarali.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Swarali.
Thank you.
Do we see Isha and Anisha also there?
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. And before we take your leave, I'd like to make an announcement and propose the vote of thanks. So I request you all to hang on for 2 more minutes. To begin with, I'd like to thank our guest, Mrs. Swarali Paranjape. Ma'am, thank you so much for taking out time and guiding our audience. And thank you so much for all the valuable information that you shared. I personally feel very, very inspired right now. So a big, big thank you. Next up, I want to thank the German section, Department of Foreign Languages, SPPU, and German Department of Fergusson College, Pune, for joining team Zukunftsmusik and providing us with a platform. So big, big thank you for them as well. Next up, I would like to thank our 2 guiding stars, our teachers, Dr. Swati Acharya ma'am from SPPU and Dr. Amruta Kulkarni ma'am from Fergusson College, Pune, for guiding us through the journey with a lot of passion and with a lot of enthusiasm. So thank you, ma'am. And then I'd like to thank what I would call the roots of Zukunftsmusik, Mohini Kai and Parag Velankar, for conducting the interview so well. And it is truly inspiring to see the 2 of you go out of your way in helping the students here in India. So a big, big thanks to you both. Also a big thanks to the technical team of Fergusson College, Pune, for helping us out in all the technical aspects of the whole session. And last but not the least, a big shout out to the audience for registering in the large number, for tuning in today and coming up with an amazing set of questions. So thank you to all of you. And yeah, coming to the announcement, the second session of the series will take place on the 21st of August. And the guest speaker for the session is Aditi Gosavi. So I request you all to stay tuned to our social media handles for the registration links and do join in. So yeah, that is it from our side, and team Zukunftsmusik signing off, and we'll see you in the next month. Tschüss.
Thank you so much, Anisha.
Thank you.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Wiedersehen. Wiedersehen.
Tschüss.
Bye.
Maybe one last sentence. We cannot leave the session without thanking these two absolutely passionate young ladies, Anisha and Isha. Without your absolutely unconditional support, this event wouldn't have taken place. So, ein großes Dankeschön, liebe Isha und liebe Anisha.
Yes. A round of applause
Definitely.
for them.
Vielen Dank, vielen Dank.
Bye.
Tschüss.
Bye.
Tschüss.
Cheers.
Tschüss.